Saya throws his hands up and starts pulling exaggerated faces, straight up clowning the guy, and those words hit Sar right in the gut. Sar immediately snaps, loses it on the spot, and charges in. He winds up his fist and swings hard, a hit so savage it nearly makes Saya lose control of his bladder. Luckily, the two officers jump in just in time and block it for him. Meanwhile, Sar is absolutely not done. He roars in rage and follows up with another heavy punch aimed straight at them. The problem is, both officers have already lost an arm, straight up got nerfed, and they simply can't withstand Sar's relentless assault. They're forced to retreat step by step, getting pushed back hard. Furthermore, the rest of the team has already fallen way behind. Some people are helping each other stumble away, but once things start looking truly bad, especially for the weaker ones, panic kicks in, and they scatter in all directions. Honestly, can't really blame them, as no one's here lining up to get their ass beaten today. Seeing everyone bolt, Saya quickly asks Tungsten whether they should fight or just run for it. Tungsten, for once, doesn't have an answer. And then suddenly, a sharp scream cuts through the chaos. Both of them snap their heads around and see the people who just ran suddenly rushing back, screaming, "There are beasts over there, tons of them." Saya stares into the distance in disbelief. Massive, grotesque creatures are emerging one after another, and just one glance tells him these things are no joke. Every single one of them looks terrifying, wearing eerie, twisted grins. He checks the other direction, and sure enough, it's the same story. Anyway, things escalate fast. Dense swarms of beasts start flooding in from all sides, appearing almost out of nowhere, leaving everyone completely stunned and clueless about what's even happening. Lu Sheng calmly began counting. It started with around a dozen, then the number kept climbing. 20, 30. In the blink of an eye, there are hundreds. Fear spreads instantly through the team, and everyone feels like this is the end. Even the two officers have never seen anything like this before, and they can't help but gulp nervously. And right at that moment of hesitation, Sar lands another brutal punch, sending them flying. He comments that they seriously thought they could escape, and remarks that they must have forgotten who the real owner of this space is. The fat guy gets smashed so hard he spits out blood, his glasses shatter on the spot, and all he can do is curse under his breath. Over on the other side, the female officer is shaking with rage, noting that Sar is truly beyond saving at this point. But instead of rallying the group, that realization just drags everyone deeper into despair. After all, Sar and his crew were already a nightmare to deal with, and now countless powerful beasts are surrounding them. Worse still, a beast swarm of this scale could crush an entire star sector 1,000 times over. At that point, everyone had come to one conclusion. There's nowhere left to run. Sar slowly raises one hand, clenches it tight, and announces that he'll give them one last chance. Join him, or die. The crowd starts trembling uncontrollably, terror spreading across their faces, and sure enough, someone breaks first. A man in the crowd hesitantly raises his hand, shaking as he says he's willing to join. He's an 11th level named Carl. The very next second, he's yanked by the collar and flung into the air, dragged straight in front of Sar in the next scene. Sar beams at him, clearly pleased, and tells him this is the right choice, guaranteeing he won't regret it. By making this decision, Carl is officially safe. Carl hurriedly bows as he thanks Sar. He nods repeatedly, looking submissive. You can still see a hint of regret on his face, but it's overwhelmed by relief, the kind that comes from surviving a near-death moment. He reassures himself that it's fine now, that he's safe, and once the first person steps out, the rest follow fast. Soon, more and more hands go up, especially among the weakest members of the team. The trio watches as people around them keep surrendering, and Lu Sheng can't help but reflect that under real life and death pressure, dignity and principles get shoved aside. After all, reaching this level in their journey wasn't easy, and who actually wants to die? The crowd around Sar grows larger and larger, and before long they're even chatting and laughing with him. Some people start flattering him openly, asking him to look after them in the future, and Sar clearly enjoys every second of it. Lu Sheng thinks it over. Sure, being labeled a traitor sounds awful, but wasn't Sar the most talented among them, and didn't he make the same choice? As for being unable to break through to the 13th level, most people probably know their own limits. Reaching 12th level with 2 or 3 galaxy rules integrated into their bodies is already the ceiling for them, and 13th level is something they don't even dare to imagine. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here gambling on a miracle. He lets out a quiet sigh, lamenting that people are like that. Once they accept a choice, they'll naturally come up with countless reasons to justify it. Then he turns and asks the two behind him what they plan to choose. Saya stays silent for a moment before saying he wants to wait for Lord Skeletal Blade to arrive. He firmly believes that betraying humanity is the greatest crime in the universe, and in the outer space battlefield, anyone caught doing that will get executed on the spot. Meanwhile, Tungsten adds that going down that path wouldn't just damn them, It would drag their families and future generations into disgrace as well. Because of that, he decides to wait too. Lu Sheng doesn't say anything in response, but his expression makes it clear he's satisfied with their answers. The fat officer overhears the exchange as well and for once, allows a smile to show that he looks genuinely relieved. He asks Sar if he sees it now, pointing out that not everyone is so desperate to cling to life. But Sar answers with a sinister laugh, mocking the idea that some so-called big shot would actually rush over to save them. The officer immediately demands to know what he means, and Sar casually fires back that for a 13th level, this distance is almost nothing. If that person were coming, he would have arrived long ago. He then further reveals something even more chilling, saying that the great Oblivion Lord has already wiped the memory of coming to rescue them straight from that man's mind. As he says this, Sar laughs louder, remarking that the guy is probably still sitting comfortably in his basement, sipping tea, while only these fools are standing here waiting. The two officers are completely stunned and can't bring themselves to believe it. Saya freezes for a second too, half convinced and half doubting. But if that's actually true, then they're absolutely done goofed. Panicking, he quickly asks Lu Sheng what they should do. Lu Sheng doesn't answer right away. Still, looking at his calm expression, unchanged no matter the situation, Saya can't help feeling that Lu Sheng might actually have a plan. Even so, the thought that Skeletal Blade might never show up is terrifying. That's when Lu Sheng finally speaks up, asking whether they really believe whatever Sar says, questioning if Saya is some obedient little lamb who takes every word at face value. Cutting off their near panic, he tells them to think about whether Skeletal Blade really has his memory erased. If someone could casually wipe the memories of a 13th level, that would at least require a 14th level being or higher. And honestly, are they really worth that kind of existence personally stepping in? What Lu Sheng says actually starts to make sense, and Saya thinks it over, realizing he might be onto something. He reflected that Sar really is just trying to scare them and rescue should still be coming. But Lu Sheng shakes his head again, noting that, judging from the current situation, relying on outside help isn't realistic either. If rescue were actually on the way, Sar wouldn't have the leisure to stand here playing recruitment games. Saya gets confused all over again, thinking that coming late or not coming at all feels basically the same. Surely they wouldn't arrive just to collect their bodies, right? At this point, the choice in front of them is brutal. Either become a traitor or die on the spot, and there is no other option. Suddenly, Saya comes up with an idea. Maybe they could pretend to surrender first, then flip sides the moment rescue arrives. Tungsten thinks that sounds brilliant. Watching the two of them get excited, Lu Sheng can only feel speechless. As time passes, another large chunk of people voluntarily join Sar's side. The rest are either still hesitating or simply refuse to submit. Sar, however, is clearly done waiting. He announces that the opportunity has already been given, and if the rest want to die, that's not his problem. With a downward flick of his finger, the beasts surrounding them launch their attack all at once. Of course, joining isn't something you can just talk your way into. The people who surrendered earlier are ordered to fight as well. Sar tells them that each person must have at least one person's blood on their hands for the submission to count. If they refuse to do that, he smiles and declares that their fate will be exactly the same as the rest. The people who already switched sides suddenly look uneasy. It's obvious now that Saya's earlier idea wasn't unique to him, as plenty of them had the same thought. Then one of the beasts lets out a single roar, and that alone shakes several people so badly they can't even stay on their feet. At the edge of life and death, loyalty stops mattering. The traitors can only think about themselves, and in the next second, they rush forward as well. The two officers don't even have the breathing room to help anyone. Barely holding off a few of Sar's followers is already pushing them to the limit. Meanwhile, the people who didn't betray, especially the weakest ones, suddenly become hot targets in the eyes of those who surrendered. After all, they're way easier to kill. With such a massive gap in strength, many don't even get the chance to fight back before being captured. Saya instantly feels that something is seriously wrong. Right now, all odds are against them, and he honestly can't see any chance of survival. And in the brief moment he zones out, someone has already locked onto him. That person swings their weapon straight at Saya. Just as it's about to land, Tungsten rushes in and blocks it with his own arm. Saya is overwhelmed with gratitude, but before he can even react, two more people have their eyes on him. He immediately turns and runs, with both of them chasing right behind. Suddenly, a hand grabs him. He spins around and realizes it's Lu Sheng. His first instinct is relief, but that feeling fades just as fast. Lu Sheng is only 11th level just like him. Even if he's stronger than him, how much stronger could he really be? Regret hits Saya like a truck. He curses himself for listening to that bastard fortune teller in the first place. Even if life outside was rough and humiliating, at least it wouldn't have ended like this. Only now does he truly understand how precious life is. If he ever got another chance, He swore he'd never come back here again. Just as he completely gives up, a voice calmly tells him there's actually another option. Saya snaps his head up and hears Lu Sheng saying that besides becoming a traitor or dying, there's a third choice. Saya blanks for a moment and asks what it is. Lu Sheng tells him it's simple. Take down Sar, wipe out all the beasts, and deal with the traitors too. Saya's eyes go wide as he tries to process that. In the next second, his jaw practically hits the ground. He seriously thinks Lu Sheng has lost his mind. To him, this sounds like saying you don't want to die so you'll just keep living, or the fact that if someone is homeless, then he should just buy a house. Logically makes sense, sure, but is it actually doable? That's another story. He even starts to suspect Lu Sheng is joking, just trying to comfort him. Still, somehow that ridiculous suggestion does lighten his mood a bit. Saya gets back on his feet and pats Lu Sheng on the shoulder. Then, without warning, a violent surge of flames erupts straight into the sky. A terrifying energy, something he has never witnessed in his entire life, suddenly explodes out of Lu Sheng's body. Saya's eyes go wide in shock, staring as if he's just seen something completely impossible.